Welcome back to the Logistics and Leadership Podcast. I'm Brian Hastings, and on today's episode, we're going to have Ricky Gonzalez. He's an industry veteran of 20 plus years. He's also the CEO and co-founder of a company called Hubtek. We're going to dive into a couple different areas, including AI, automation, staffing, the future of freight brokerage, and what it looks like in the next 3 to 5 years. Ricky, so how you been, man? It's been a while since we chatted. I know we always connect usually at the TIA events, wherever they're at usually in that year. But how you been, man? What's new with you?
Being great. Remember last time I saw you, it was probably a dinner at the TIA. So it's great to see you and thanks for inviting me here. So being great. I've been spending a lot of time in Colombia where we have most of our operation of, the Hubtek business and the Tech and Tabi businesses.
Yeah.
So last September, I kind of swapped my home base from Miami, which, I've been probably 20 some years already. And so spending more time in Medellin because to the family, be close to the team, but still, going to the US a lot, this every month. And
Yeah.
I want to travel more next year and go back to events. I was a little bit absent from freight events in 2025, but I want to change that in 2026. So yeah,
Okay.
very exciting things coming.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think it's we've known each other for a handful of years. I think we originally connected, a few years ago at the TIA events and had some dinner together, or even maybe a drink or something like that. So, um, well, let me ask you this, man. Obviously, the listeners to the show today, they want to know kind of who you are, where you've been. Obviously, you run a very successful organization today. Kind of give us the background on you. Give us like a 5-minute overview of who you are and kind of the path that you've forged.
Absolutely. And I don't want to kind of bore the audience, but it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to make it short.
Sure.
So I started my career in Colombia 20 some years ago and feels that I'm getting older. And so I did my internship in a freight company in Florida, South Florida. And, I kind of did a good job. They decided to give me a full-time position with an H-1 visa. So I then moved to the US, stayed for that company for about 7 years. I, learned the business. It was a freight forwarding company, but, very focused in Latin America, but also consolidation, had a lot of, domestic transportation as well. So I started learning a lot about trucking and international freight forwarding as well. And then, I decided to move away and kind of do my own thing. It was by then with all the blessing of my former boss. And we started a freight brokerage back then called 1A Transportation Group.
Okay.
It was focused mainly on specialized freight, so a lot of heavy hauling, over dimensional. We also started growing the LTL side of things, started having our own contracts, and started having great success and growing very quickly, very rapidly. Also, at the same time, which is a business that we still keep with my ex-wife, built an MRO distributor. It's a very small company, but we
Okay.
still supply of raw material to different manufacturing industries in Latin America.
Yeah.
And so it was, kind of running that business on the side with all the knowledge we gained in international business and international freight forwarding and logistics and fulfillment. Um, Grew that business, had a unsuccessful trucking company on the side. Like every broker that is succeeding, at some point you think that you can also do trucking, and it's a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
different animal. It's like we
Yeah.
failed big time, and we lost a lot of money. We ended up closing doors, but we learned a lot from that, not only
Yeah.
from a empathetic perspective, being like really understanding what carriers care about and how difficult it is to run a trucking business, but also moving all kinds of freight. We kept growing the business, and about 7 8 years ago we decided to merge that business with another competitor also in South Florida. Both our companies had operations in Colombia, so we already did like nearshore staffing or hire our own employees in Colombia for a long time. And we said, well, there's something here. We know how to handle the infrastructure. We know how to hire the people, train them, make them successful. So, why don't we build something like this? So by that time, the company that we hired to help us through the merger process, the culture integration, all the kind of the merger of the two companies was Joel McGinley, my actual co-founder and partner in Hubtek.
Yeah.
And he used to run a company called Trans Strategy Partners. Trans Strategy is coaching business and training business for freight brokerages.
Okay.
So he used to coach thousands of people and hundreds of business owners, helping them grow from 0 to 100 million. And we said, well, this is the guy we need to hire.
Yeah.
And he kind of reinforced the idea of, guys, yes, you merge in a transportation business, but you have something that other customers of mine would like, other brokerages in North America. Why don't we build a business together?
Sure.
And by that time, I was done with the kind of the technical integration of the merger. I'm personally a very, I would say, techie, or at least, I love technology. I love playing with technology. Not that I'm a coder whatsoever,
Yeah.
but I can kind of understand and have a vision for technology, and same as Joel. So I
Sure.
said, well, there's something here where we mix but I was finishing up with the idea. I ended up implementing a new TMS, changing all the legacy systems, doing the cultural integration regarding technology. And I said, well, it's kind of the next evolution for me, and it makes sense that I joined forces with Joel. But the concept was we want to build up teams in Latin America for logistics companies, but at the same
Yeah.
time implement technology. And we didn't know how, but we knew there was something around technology that the brokers needed, and married that up with the human teams, and and build this sort of perfect marriage between automation of processes and people to bring efficiency to freight brokerages. And
Yeah.
so we did it. We formed Hoptech about 7 years ago. The name Hoptech, it's exactly that, is the hub where everything happens, hub, core, and mixing technology was sort of a catchy name. But we started only with the talent business, like nearshoring
Yeah.
people in Colombia, and different cities in Colombia. We started growing the business. The brokerage at the same time grew a lot. Last year, I decided to keep only, shares at Hoptech, so I moved away from the brokerage side. I think, it was time for me to just focus in one thing. We formed Hoptech, we grew Hoptech, we started kind of playing with technology even before AI was a thing. I remember we
Sure.
even were training our own LLM models. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say large because they weren't large, but they were, we put a lot of resources into it, building standardization around email understanding. So we were building models where we could understand an email request from coming from a shipper to a broker,
Yeah.
and saying, hey, this is, quote request. These are the different parameters, or the, from to commodity weight, et cetera, standardize it, and then quoting that with some logic. And it was very rudimentary at the beginning. It was very archaic, but we started playing with it. At the same time, we played with a lot of other processes, and that's where we started forming Tabi, which is today a company on its own. It's a standalone business, and
Right.
I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But it was part of Hoptic at the same time. So we were,
Great.
at the same time, building a services business and also a technology business, right?
Yeah.
And at the beginning, I have to confess, Tabi was super hard to manage. It was all over the place. We were creating voice technology even before, the happy robots of the world were a thing, and it was hard. It was, we started negotiating with carriers in an automated way. Carriers didn't like the robocalls, so we
Sure.
did the projects we were selling customers weren't as successful. I'm talking, that was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And but then, we started doing, RPA customization for a lot of processes because we were operators before. But what started clicking was the rate quoting aspect, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
can you help me automate the rate quoting? And can you help me, automate these shippers on these platforms? And we started identifying a pattern. So we said, and I remember we were with a very large organization on a call, pitching Tabi, hey, this is why you need to buy Tabi. And they said, well, show us the platform. And I said, but we don't have any platform. It's a customized project for you
Mhm.
and your shippers and your shipper TMSs and your bid boards. And they said, well, we have to see something in order to buy. It wasn't our first
Yeah,
customer,
yeah.
but we were early. We had at that time probably 10 clients in very, different processes, billing, LTL settlements,
Sure.
rating. And I said, well, there's something here. We definitely need to pivot and and move from a customized shop to more a SaaS product that is really a middleware between the customer's platforms, and we have to add, the middleware where it's so easy to handle, so easy to maneuver, so easy to customize
Mhm.
for customers to put their rates, modify their rates, and automate the rates back to a shipper. So we started creating the first version of Tabi Connect. That was three and a half years ago, I believe,
Okay.
and started getting a lot of success. The first customer, the second customer, and those customers starting, you know, giving us kind of their input, their feedback. We listened, came back to the lab, added more things, came back, more releases, and the business started forming around, something more tangible, a
Yeah.
true SaaS.
As far like you said, with the business, wanted to ask you this. Have you always had like an entrepreneurial spirit? It sounded like when you started to work at the company in Florida or in South Florida, you peeled away from them. Did you always want to start your own business, or is that something that was like you came about like early in your early 20s, or how did that work?
It's funny that you ask, when I was like 3 or 4 years old, my mom says, I don't remember this, of course, but my mom says that I used to say, Mom, I don't want to be poor and I want to be my own boss. And I kept saying it. I kept saying it.
Yeah.
I think I have that from my grandpa, and he built a very successful business in Colombia.
Mm, sure.
And I always had that in me. Like, but I also said I need to learn first in a company
Yeah.
because I don't know the trade. I
Yeah.
don't know anything about this industry, but I need to learn. And actually, I started as an operations person, very basic,
Yeah.
and build my way up into being kind of the second in command in that company, and running a very big sales team, and you know expanding the companies and learning a lot of the operation as well. So I was sort of the second in command of the company, but I always wanted my own thing. So I think it was something
Sure.
that I had in me, and
Okay.
I think I'm a starter. And yeah, I think that helped big time to really, you know, um, I think there's a long way in what we're building. I don't want to say I'm perfect or I'm the best, but I think it helped me a lot to be who I am today.
Yeah, I love it, and I love the fact that you answered that way, even as as a kid, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs know pretty early. I know some of them, don't they don't know until they're in the middle of it. So I love that piece. The next one, I thank you for being vulnerable, man. I think even you owning up to the fact that you had a trucking company, it didn't go as well. You were like, okay, we need to shift gears here. We need to pivot. How we close that place down. That now you're getting into the hub tech side of things. And then I did want to ask you a question. When was the turning point last year, or maybe a couple years ago, where you're like, "Man, I need to focus my energy towards one thing." Was there like a specific date or time, or was there like an aha moment for you when you said, "Man, I need to focus my area on this, and this is what I'm going to do moving forward"?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it goes back to our failures in different businesses. So the trucking company was one. There's
Sure.
another one. We started doing an e-com when when the e-commerce, there was an e-commerce boom around 2016, 2015.
Okay.
We went to China coincidentally to see some kind of products that we wanted to trade, and we said, well, there's some furniture problem in Miami at least, so we want to become one of the largest e-commerce furniture distributors, and we started
Got it.
importing containers from Asia, furniture and decoration. So we built up an e-commerce store for decoration. That one also
Okay.
failed. It was capital intensive. That was kind of at the same time of the trucking companies, so also the
Yeah.
brokerage. So at that time we were running like four different businesses, and I started to create focus. I said, well, we can be in a lot of different things at the same time if we want to do one thing well.
Yeah.
So we started narrowing then in Hubtek. So we started again doing creating technology, also running the talent business. But there was an aha moment when I remember it was a Freight Waves event. Can remember if it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I was chatting with a client. He came from not only logistics, but he came from a M&A and financial background.
Okay.
And he said, how are you running two very distinct businesses, very unique businesses around services and SaaS? They're two different animals.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm struggling running the two businesses, at least having them all mixed on the same bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I started chatting with him around SaaS metrics, the different kinds of capital needs one needs versus the other. SaaS is more capital intensive. And I remember after that call, I called my partner and said, Joe, we need to split the business. We need to split the business in two. Hoptic can just be everything. Yes, it could be under Hoptic, but we need to build Talent Tech as a business, which
Sure.
is the talent business,
Yep.
and then Tabi as another business, and have eventually even split them legally. So we have the flexibility to even, sell the business or receive an equity partner that is the appetite for that partner is a SaaS or services. We
Sure.
can
Sure.
have both. And I
Well, I
think
think.
that's one of the best things we've done. We did that couple years ago, officially kind of a year ago. And so we're running the two businesses, yes, at the same time, sort of with the same leadership, but very unique structures.
Okay.
And there's some big announcements that we'll make in a few weeks where, it's really paying off. That decision of focus really, really pays off. So that could be kind of my advice to entrepreneurs that want to do everything, or a product
Yeah.
that is
I.
solving a lot of problems, especially with AI. And I think we're going to talk about AI in a minute. You can solve everything.
Yeah.
You just can't, right? There's not enough resources, enough focus, and I believe a lot in energy and focus. And yeah, I that was one of the blessings in our business.
That's awesome to hear because one of the sayings that I use often in our business is diluted focus gets diluted results. And I do feel like there is an emphasis on focusing in one area to make sure that you are the expert, you have a niche, you are superior in that specific area, as opposed to, for us, like I think in a freight brokerage world, we look at it and you might come in and say, oh, I'm 100% full truckload refrigerated freight, and then you get an opportunity for dry van. And it's like, "Oh, okay, well, they also do some box truck. Okay, wait, hold on. I also have an oversized customer that focuses on, oversized or RGN type shipments," right? You don't wanna necessarily turn down business, but what I've seen and what I've heard over time is if you can focus your energy towards one of those specific niches, the opportunity for you to get crystal clear is far better than anything else. Where, like, it's tough.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's tough to turn those clients down, or maybe, if they're coming to you with opportunities, it is hard, especially in the first, like, 2, 3 years of entrepreneurship. It's like, "Oh, man, we need every dollar that we can get," right? But, I think there is a point where you have to, kind of, challenge yourself as a business owner to say, "Okay, here's our niche, here's our path, here's what we're gonna do moving forward."
It's kind of master of trade and jack of known. So it's like, or,
Yeah,
or So, or jack of trades, master of none. So it's like,
Yeah.
if you, yeah, it's easy to lose focus and be tempted to, get
Yeah.
the quick win, quick profit, quick, oh, this opportunity, I can move this truck.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's what every business owner does. But, at the end of the day, it's like, how do you specialize in something in a particular niche? And there's a book that I love, which is Crossing the Chasm. I can't remember the author now, but that book says that there's a point when you're scaling that, and there's a chasm, and every founder thinks that, oh, I already crossed the chasm, I'm already scaling, and I already have mass adoption. And typically the chasm says, hey, you need to really specialize in one thing to have better shots and better probabilities at succeeding and jumping or
Sure.
crossing
Sure.
the chasm.
Yeah.
And the guy proves how the markets adopt new products or services, and how you will be tricked into thinking that you already had the traction. But I believe focus is a very big thing. Being specialized, not necessarily being narrow minded, right? You have to think big, but at the same time, be realistic about your situation and be good at what you do. And then once you have the hang of it and you have good penetration, yeah, you can look at different expansion opportunities in different products or features or markets.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
you know, you have to be rooted 1 mile deep into a solving a problem, so you have better chances at succeeding.
I agree. That's awesome. No, I think thanks for sharing, man. I agree with you. I think, you're looking at, you're talking to two entrepreneurs here that are, discussing, past results and past experiences, right? Um, but no, so I do want to shift to a topic that I feel like is, you know, up and coming, or hell, it's already here. Everybody's talking about AI implementation, automation. I know with Tabi Connect, you guys are doing quote automation. Um, I guess tell tell the audience more about with Tabi Connect, what you're doing, how you're automating specific quotes, how you're making brokerages more efficient, that sort of thing.
Yep. So a little bit of a teaser of what Tabi Connect is. Tabi Connect, it's a rate management system where we allow brokers to quote faster and more profitably by being in control of their rates and the rates they quote to shippers, and being smart about how they enhance the margins through automation and
Yeah.
data and AI now. So how we're implementing AI, which I think it's important to kind of explain my view of AI. So we're
Yeah.
implementing AI in two ways. One, internally, which is very important. How do we become more efficient by implementing AI through, enhancing our processes, being more efficient about how we operate internally? So, actually, how do we get more efficient from a revenue per employee standpoint? So, making our employees have superpowers, so they process more transactions internally, from billing to service desk, AI bots. So we're doing a lot of things internally around that, and that perhaps is not seen in the marketplace, but we become a much more efficient organization. That's one. The second thing is product facing, right? So there's a lot of opportunities to infuse AI into our product. We already work with AI for since we started. So one of the you know features that we use that brokers are loving is we're able to extract information out of an email, understand that it's a quote request, extract and standardize the information, and pass the quote request through Tavi's algorithm, and then quote back to a shipper, right? It has an AI component to it
Okay.
from an extraction standpoint. Also, um, on the reporting and insights side of things, we're giving brokers AI capabilities. I don't want to call it a co-pilot, but it's kind of an assistant where they can run reports based on natural language, right? So
10.
they can say, "Hey, give me my top 10 lanes. Who are my best shippers? Who are my best shippers compared to last year?" And query Tavi with natural language, and it will bring you the report, so you have a better handle on visibility of what you're quoting, and you can even give back to the shippers hey, here's what you're quoting, here are your best lanes and things like that. So making QBR shipper reports very easily with the help of AI.
Yeah.
Another component of it is our what's unique to Tabi, and I think we're, you know, one of the best in the industry doing that, and some others are kind of following. It's our bands logic of what we call parameters in quoting.
Okay.
So the brokers can with it's kind of translating their tribal knowledge into machine insights where so Tavi can use that as the algorithm to quote on a per shipper basis automatically.
Got it.
And where the way we did it before AI was some quote unquote static parameters, so seasonality, commodity, accessorials, et cetera, where they can put, a 300 extra if, is the DOT Bliss week, or, this lane I know is going to be hard to cover. So put an extra $200 to the truck or quote another $200 to the shipper, but you can now build those rules, and we're releasing that. This is kind of a teaser. We're releasing that next week, actually, for our top clients, and then cascading down.
Okay.
It's
In-
with natural language building the rules, so it's not as static and not as manual and not as lengthy. When you're building them with natural language, like if you were prompting a ChatGPT query, very easy to build a rule that says, hey, add $300 if it's quote freight coming out of the Northeast, and at 8 p.m. Pickups, put another $100. And if it's more than 5 loads, you put an extra $200 because I know we're gonna get out of trucks if it's more than 5 loads on that
Sure.
particular location or lane. So
Got to
it's that
dead as some
advancement of
trucks
logic.
down. Yeah. Yeah. With that,
It's
like, with the advanced logic that you're talking about, even with that, that's something where, you don't have to have a manual person go in and tweak it, every couple days. You can set it for a week, 2 weeks at a time, set this logic or these parameters up, and then you're able to, set that for a specific period. Is that right?
Absolutely, and we don't
Okay.
we don't necessarily recommend like a set it and forget it kind of a thing, because
Yeah.
I think quoting is very sensitive to timing, to
Yeah.
seasonalities.
Yeah.
Whether if you negotiated a better rate with a carrier or contract, or found a better carrier for that particular lane, you move very often.
Yeah.
So our most successful clients are the ones that are revisiting the platform every twice a week, making sure that with the data, they are also manipulating the parameters a little bit to kind of tweak the levers. And those are the most successful like
But
engagements, and the ones are like winning a lot of freight. But they don't need anymore like a thousand brokers quoting, or a thousand account managers quoting their shippers, but it's just one or two people making sure that they're controlling the parameters and monitoring the
sure.
outcomes.
That's
So it's
awesome.
it's a big
Okay.
efficiency gain for brokerages.
Love it. No, thanks for giving us kind of a behind the scenes look at that product. I feel like that's a lot of, Fortune 500 shippers. I feel like you got to have some sort of that version of that, where if you don't, it's, you're a little bit behind. I did want
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did want to say, so the next thing with the brokerage side of it, people always talk, okay, are we going to have jobs in, you know, 3, 5, 10 years? What's that like? What do you think? Or I guess like, bring out your crystal ball and tell us what you think AI is going to do, how it's going to help hurt brokerages. What's your take on that, Ricky?
Yeah, I don't believe in full autonomy of AI. So I'm a big believer in agentic, and when it's how it's helping even logistics and other industries.
Sure,
But
sure.
I'm a big believer in humans in the loop, like verifying, controlling, monitoring, thinking creatively. And what I think AI is going to do is like give us more free time. I'm a big user of AI myself.
Yeah,
I use Claude and GPT and other tools that, but I don't really do autonomous, or some things are autonomous, but I want to control my outcomes.
okay,
And I think AI is still is advancing very fast, but still it's kind of a black box. You don't know how AI is making the decisions internally.
sure.
So in our case, and what customers have told us, kind of reinforcing our vision. And I don't want to be biased or blind to the future, right? I want to be open to what AI can bring. They don't want to outsource the full quoting process to a bot, right? They don't they don't want to say, okay, here's my shippers, here's my TMS, quote everything, and I'm gonna just forget about it. They're hesitant about that, and I agree. It's profits, it's their relationships,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
true prices. So what we're doing with AI, and it's even implementing agentic in the automations we create for clients.
sure,
I still believe that clients are not really, um, they don't really, they don't want to really build their own automations themselves. They need a partner to help them, even
okay,
with agentic.
yeah,
So we're using agentic internally and RPA and APIs in a combination of them to really bring the automation to the customer,
okay,
right? In the best way possible, always having the human in the loop component.
got it.
So
Yeah,
yes, AI will bring efficiencies, but I think it will just change the way we work, and people will have to reskill to really. The new skills will be, okay, how do I marry up my job with AI
yeah,
and enhance my powers, but it's not like fully autonomously run my business with AI.
right. And I
I'm
think
still hesitant about that.
yeah, I think there's a portion of it where, this is something that I always say is to me you have to have the people behind the technology pushing and pulling some of the levers to make it work the right way. I think if you just set it and forget it or set it and let it run wild, like, I don't know if maybe the version 4 or 5.0 might be a little bit different a few years from now, but I still think, where we're at as an industry, we still need individuals behind a lot of those automation processes to make sure that they're doing the right things or meeting those KPIs, right? Um, so yeah, I think it's for us, it's the people behind the technology to make sure that we are becoming more efficient. Now, a job before that might have taken 3 or 4 people to do, that might take one. That might take a certain bot or a certain type of AI technology with one person in there as opposed to four. So I do think that that's going to help our business become more efficient and maximize individuals' skills and characteristics.
I agree. And to your point, the remaining three people that, you don't need anymore,
Yeah.
those three people need to be reskilled into something
Yes.
different, right? So,
Yes.
okay, how do you supervise AI? And
Yeah.
so you become an AI supervisor. So that's kind of
Right.
a new position, right? So reskilling, upskilling, I think is the way to go. Yes, it will save money. Yes, you become more efficient. You don't need as many bodies, thrown into processes. But at the same time, humanity needs to upskill, and not, stay old school doing the same things you did
Yeah.
before. But now knowing how to implement AI, how to maneuver AI, how to supervise AI. So it's more like an enhancement of the human than just replacement of the human.
Yeah. Well, I know for us as a company, we're big believers in the power of human connection, and we're big believers in relationships and forming those relationships over time. And even with this, I don't think it's going to replace any type of relationship. I do think that it's going to automate some of the tasks and items that are, we'll call it like non-revenue generating from a sales perspective, and give you more time as a salesperson or an account executive to go out there and spend more time with your clients or develop new client relationships. So I think, the way that people view it and the way that people think about AI and technology, I think, folks have to have a little bit of a different lens to make sure that they're bringing the most value for their clients.
Absolutely, it's going to unlock opportunities. So
Yeah.
let me give you an example quickly.
Yeah.
There's one big account, a 4 billion plus brokerage that uses Tavi.
Yeah.
They used to do quoting manually before. Now they're using Tavi. On the first year, they assign 100 million in revenue to Tavi, which is great. But the beauty of it is the account managers that were quoting manually, they're now doing the heavy lifting with Tavi, but being able to be more analytical,
Yeah.
and they were able to convert to a Fortune 500 shipper some truckload rates or some truckload lanes into intermodal opportunities with the data that
No, that's
the
great.
automation provided, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would not be able to do it because it's just, automatically, you're quoting just manually, and you
Yeah.
don't think, okay, what's the data telling me? And now they unlocked a different opportunity they didn't have before with intermodal. Same happened with some LTL and some consolidations that we're able to bring to the table, and all that's possible because of the AI, because of the automation. So that's where on AI will unlock opportunities that you didn't have before, and hence kind of elevating the business that you're doing for a shipper, for your customer. So
Yeah.
elevating the human at that point.
Yeah, I love it. I love that take on it. I think, for me, I always look at it from a perspective how the client is the most important thing. How are we delivering value to the client in the best possible manner? And now, if is it to run intermodal at a lesser rate and saving them money with similar type of service, right? Like that's something that I think is great, especially when you get a specific KPI or you get some of those analytics to say, oh, we could run this on these specific lanes on intermodal, save the customer this, amount of money, and then be able to, continue to build that relationship and have more client retention. Um,
Absolutely.
well, tell me this. So, Ricky, obviously, we've talked about AI, we've talked about automation, we've talked about hub tech quite a bit. Um, what are some things that you want people to know about hub tech, talent tech, Tabby Connect? What do you got, man?
So, well, Tabi Connect, come and check a demo. We do pilots with clients, so
Love
we're
that.
very sure about the value that we can bring around freight quoting, not only from the automation perspective. Yeah, you're going to be quoting faster, you're going to win more freight, but also through data and analytics and AI, you're going to be you're going to become smarter and look like a hero to your shipper. So that's for Tabi. Talent Tech. Also, check us out if you're. I think every broker now in North America, almost every broker is doing it, nearshoring at least, or offshoring.
Yeah.
We have offices in 5 different countries. So nearshoring in Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico, and also offshoring in South Africa and Philippines to
Okay.
have 24/7 coverage and more talent pools. We know we're in a down market, and my advice for business owners and freight brokerages is hang in there. It's gonna we're gonna have a rebound eventually. We don't know
Sure.
when. We've been
Some
talking about
point.
a rebound for a long time, and it's not
Yeah.
coming. But I think it's kind of reinventing yourself without regard to any macroeconomic power. Don't leave anything to luck. Don't get stressed out.
Yeah.
We get stressed out, of course, and as business owners, we will love to be selling like crazy, but sometimes, you know, customers are reluctant or sales cycles are longer. Well, use that time to reinvent yourself as a leader, as a company, be more efficient, and the rebound will come. Freight is cyclical, and
Yeah.
there are things happening that indicates that the rebound will come eventually, perhaps towards the end of next year, and Q1 2027 starting
Yeah.
to change. Spot rates are kind of going up a little bit. Capacity is leaving the market. Still gonna be tough times. I think we still need to be prepared for some harsh realities out there, but I guess the message will be don't stress out. I mean, use that time to reinvent, dig deep into processes, inefficiencies,
Yeah.
make sure that you're eliminating friction with your clients, which, you only see that when you're in a down market and when you need to really double click in different expenses and engagements and whatnot. uh, when we're in a bonanza, we don't see that. So
Yeah.
we don't necessarily. I mean, we're doing great. Why looking at this? Why looking at
Yeah.
that? Why fixing something?
Yeah.
But it's kind of the time to fix stuff internally. And I think
Sure.
those that are implementing the right things, the right tools like Tavi, which is a profit generator, will be winners when the rebound comes.
I love that takeaway. Last thing I'm gonna ask you here, man. Or last couple things. Um, what is I know you mentioned a book a little bit earlier, but what's one book or one podcast that you listen to or that you've read before that you would always recommend to other people?
So it there's Crossing the Chasm is a great one. I think I've read it a couple times, but there's one book that I read probably once a year, or at least the highlights of it. And I've been
Uh-huh.
doing that for I guess 10 years now. And it's called How to Make Friends and Influence People
Okay.
from Carnage. And man, it's an old book. It's super old, but it's like so up to date into it's kind of the Bible of how to treat people to get what you want, and
Sure.
it's the loss of humanity, the loss of persuasion, the loss of relationships. So I strongly recommend that book. I always have it in my cell phone in the highlights. I recommend it to my team. We do
Yeah.
workshops around it here and there. You know, I guess 10, 12 principles that if you follow them, man, you'll be successful in life, at business, professionally, personally.
Yeah.
So that one is like a must read.
Okay. Awesome, man. Thank you for sharing. Well, Ricky, greatly appreciate the time. Thanks for, jumping on the show and, sharing your background, sharing your business with all the folks and all the audience. Where can people get a hold of you? If people want to set up a demo with Tabby, with Hubtek, where can they get a hold of you?
Most definitely. So you can reach out through LinkedIn. My name is Ricky Gonzalez. Can't remember the handle, but you can reach me at Ricky Gonzalez from Hoptech. Or also my email is ricardog@gohoptech.com. So you
All right.
can reach to me, for any inquiry, any question, and I'll be happy to either schedule the call myself, or just get it to Dan or Mariana or whoever on the team to
Okay.
set up a demo and show you guys what we're doing.
That's
And
awesome.
I appreciate you having it on the podcast, man. I really enjoyed like sharing a little bit of my personal story, and maybe inspiring some people that are going through a harsh patch.
Yeah.
That's what I love. I love a little bit of giving back to society, giving back to humanity.
Yeah.
I'm very spiritual, and I believe a lot in energy and manifestation and helping. So I hope this helped somebody with some kind of message to really break a bottleneck in their lives.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I think that's what it's all about, right? Is giving back and serving others. I feel like that's kind of our God given ability to serve other people, and I think
Absolutely.
if you're able to do that and understand the value in it, I think there's definitely you can definitely live a prosperous life. So I love that.
Yep.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, Ricky. Have a great one. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
You too. Thanks a lot.